safe at. Say TTAK, why he say that? Get a drop on my bro, we gon' spend that. Fuck it straight, we spin out a Maybach. Spin bluff for my bro, got payback. Fuck his legs, we gon' shoot where his face at. Put a op in his grave with his man.
It's twins, and you know what I'm saying, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, whatever you got going on, whenever you seen this, you know what I'm saying, y'all know what's going on. I hope you're doing good, you know what I'm saying. Hope you're staying out them streets. But anyways, I seen this video pop up, I recommend it, you know what I'm saying. Shout out to bro be dropping some W videos, you know what I'm saying. But anyways, we here, you know what I'm saying. This title caught my attention, I'm interested, you know what I'm saying. We're gonna go ahead and catch this little vibe. And yeah, you know what I'm saying, because I was thinking, like, because y'all know, like, on Scream, like, when, like, it's like more than one Scream, like, they like a group. So it's like, what if it's some real life serial killers? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if it's some real life serial killers that's on that type of time? Like, they a whole, like, group. And I don't know. The point is, let's see what's going on.
That 51 women were found dead, all from the same cause. If I told you that 51 women were...
You can't just start it off like that. Hold on, so let me full screen it, because this is about to get heavy. Hold on. This sound a little heavy.
Found dead, all from the same cause, with half of them being within the same 10-mile radius, and a vast majority of them happening within a 10-year span. You might think that we're talking about a serial killer, but the Chicago police say there's no solid evidence for that. Now, if you think 10 years is too much time to pin this all on one person, let me refer you to Joseph James D'Angelo, also known as the Golden State Killer, who was active from 1976 to 1986, and it would take another 32 years after he last struck for him to finally be arrested. Now, the Chicago police have been historically, I don't want to sound cliche, because it's just become so common to call the police corrupt, and obviously all police are not the same, but Chicago is a special place. I remember when I was in high school, the Chicago police popped up on my block, and while I was walking out of the door, they pushed past me to look for one of my friends inside of my house, and I said, "Hey, you can't search my house, you don't have a warrant." And the cop said, quote, "I don't give a fuck." So around the time the first 5 women...
That's crazy.
"You don't have a warrant." And the cop said, quote, "I don't give a fuck." So around the time the first 5 women were found in 2001, 2 in a vacant lot, 2 inside of apartment buildings, and 1 behind a clothing store.
Hold on, slow down.
Cop said, quote, "I don't give a fuck." So around the time the first 5 women were found in 2001, 2 in a vacant lot, 2 inside of apartment buildings, and 1 behind a clothing store, a police sergeant in Chicago was indicted for operating a gang that would raid drug houses, then resell the contraband they found on the streets. This same sergeant then proceeded to...
They was trapping, huh? What? Damn! They was thugging.
Drug houses, then resell the contraband they found on the streets. This same sergeant then proceeded to go on the run successfully for 15 years. Shortly after, a nurse witnessed a police car crash, so she rushed over to help the 2 cops out of the vehicle, but when she went down to the police station to give a statement, they forced her to sign another statement falsely claiming that she stole one of their service weapons, and she was sentenced to 10 months in jail for the crime of saving 2 police officers.
Wow.
Good thing for her, after nearly
Wow. That's crazy. This video is crazy.
A year, her charges were dismissed and she was awarded nearly $8 million. And a few months before this, a woman called the police to make a noise complaint. Then she walked $8 million. Good thing for her, after nearly a year, her charges were dismissed and she was awarded nearly $8 million. And a few months before this, a woman called the police to make a noise complaint. Then she walked outside to find a group of men beating up some teenagers. So she asked who they were, and of course they just punched her in the face. And when she threatened to call the police, the group of men stated that they were the police. And they actually were the Chicago police. So this is the state the Chicago police were in when the Chicago Strangler first struck. Body cams were still a distant dream of the future, and the police pretty much ran the streets selling drugs and having their way. Now, despite the fact that for over a decade, several women were found in just 3 of the 22 police districts, the Chicago police said there are no links between any of these murders. And as a result, a pattern wasn't announced until the Murder Accountability Project came about, when Thomas K. Hargrove, a journalist, created an algorithm that uses FBI data in order to identify clusters of murders with a high probability of identifying serial killers. And this algorithm actually helped police in Indiana identify a man who would later confess to 6 murders very similar to the ones that took place in Chicago. And Hargrove's team isn't just a group of journalists. It consists of a team of forensic...
We've seen a video or something about this. It was something, I forgot the name of the video, but it was something to do with like serial killers or something like that. It was a video or something like that. I forgot. I might put it in the description if I find it. I don't remember.
Experts and former detectives, and the board of directors even includes a former FBI special agent. Now, 51 is a very high number to associate with just one person, but as Hargrove once said, if you leave a killer walking the streets, the killing goes on. And the group even filed a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit against the Illinois State Police because they were no longer reporting homicide data to the FBI. And if all of this sounds unusual for a local government, you must not be familiar with the state of Illinois. In just a 6-year span, Illinois had 2 governors sent to prison for corruption and fraud, 3 aldermen, 1 mayor, and 1 state representative. And this was just in the early 2000s. The list actually gets longer every decade. And this underreporting and also the lack of reporting altogether isn't just a Chicago thing. According to the Murder Accountability Project, using data from the Uniform Crime Report, which is a voluntary reporting program administered by the FBI, and the CDC, which is a primary source for homicide data in the U.S., it was found that in 2018, which was the last year the Strangler was allegedly known to be active, nearly 3,000 homicides were not reported by the police. And from 2000 to 2018, which is all within the timeline the Chicago cases took place outside of 1 year, the U.S. had over 36,000 homicides that went unreported.
Damn.
Now, part of the reason the Chicago police don't want to consider this to be the act of one man might have something to do with the Southside Strangler cases from the 90s and the early 2000s. And this is when multiple serial killers were active in Chicago at the exact same time, including 2 men in the same neighborhood. One from 1993 to 99 that counted 11 victims, and the other from 1994 to 1995 with 5 victims. 29 women, all on one side of the city from 1993 to 2000. And this led to the media creating the name Southside Strangler, initially believing that this was all the work of one man.
Is that the video we watched? I felt like that's the video we watched. If that's, we'll see. The video might be in the description. It's a, I don't know how long it is, but I feel like it was a kind of long video. But yeah, we will definitely, I feel like we watched that video.
And this definitely confuses things. Could there have been multiple stranglers at once again? And if so, why wouldn't the Chicago police announce something like this? Just growing up there, I can say with confidence that it is the perfect place for a serial killer to thrive, and just the perfect place to get away with crime in general. From thieves and murderers to politicians accepting bribes and extorting people with impunity. It makes sense why they filmed all those Batman movies here. This definitely is the real Gotham City. We have a governor that legalized weed, while he and another one of the richest families in Chicago are major shareholders in the companies that distribute to the dispensaries, creating something the media calls the Chicago cartel, meaning that these guys can control the prices. We had a made man, a part of the mob in Chicago that served as a state senator and alderman for 24 years, and he definitely wasn't the only one, as well as police officers involved in multiple crimes, including robbing civilians. My guess is that due to the fact that all these murders were taking place in areas where murder is already happening, the city is not worried about connecting the dots, as these things happening don't do anything to disrupt the revenue that Chicago brings in. When FBG Duck, a rapper, was killed downtown in the Gold Coast, surrounded by multi-million-dollar properties and billion-dollar enterprises, the FBI stepped in and...
RP the Duck, but that whole situation was crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that whole situation is crazy, bro.
Surrounded by multi-million-dollar properties and billion-dollar enterprises, the FBI stepped in and caught the getaway car on every camera over the 11-mile drive it took from Oak Street to Parkway Gardens. If they could do that, then this must be an option on every case in Chicago. The most recent of these Strangler attacks was just 2 years before Duck's murder, so it's likely the same cameras used in this case could have been used to find the Strangler, as a lot of these bodies were found near main streets. Main streets littered with traffic cameras and automatic license plate readers. But we'll likely never get a conclusion to many of these cases. And somebody did it, whether it was 2 guys or 10, but it's likely they're still in Chicago, probably living as old men, if they are indeed still living. But the city is a breeding ground for something like this to happen. And you know, there was a reason those Italian mobsters picked Chicago as a place to set up shop over 100 years ago. Never forget, Al Capone had his boys disguised as police officers line up 7 men against the wall and executed every single one, right on Clark Street, because he knew he'd get away with it. The fake cops that actually carried this out still haven't been identified after 96 years. And unfortunately, that's all I have on this one, as there's not much of a conclusion to come to. But as Hargrove also said, it's unlikely that 50 different men committed these 50 different murders.
That's crazy, Twins W video, man. I think I reacted to the other video that he was talking about or something like that. He said something about. I think I reacted to that other video. I'm gonna see if I can find it, put it in the comments or the description or whatever. But anyways, though, let me know how y'all felt about that. Let me know what y'all think going on. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. It's out of pocket, but yeah. If you want me to watch more videos like that, drop in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you got going on, so, you know what I'm saying? Hope you doing good. Hope you staying out from the streets. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, You know how this go though, Twin. I got a few more videos with y'all boys. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and get out there, man. I'm gonna see y'all niggas in the next one, bro.